Back in the very early part of 2018, I realized that there was something wrong with the budget. Inflation was beyond the rate of pay, and I was trying to discover what happened. I found out through my investigation that CEOs were consistently increasing their salary, somehow exponentially grew their own wage. It was really hard to imagine. But if you look at the 50s, the average CEO made 50 times the amount of one front-end employee. And today, CEOs are making, we're looking at crooked criminal behavior, unregulated and pure favoritism. And so I decided to put my foot down that the budget was broken and that the CEOs are lying to us, telling us that, if the cost of wages go up, then the cost of products go up. And that was a lie. The only reason why that would happen is if the CEOs wanted to continue making a large sum amount of money, more money every single year. And so, yeah, they want to make more, and so if they have to pay people more, they're going to have to charge things for more. Meanwhile, they're already making enough money as it is, and there was really no reason for them to ever suggest or even that they were deserving of more money. These people are making $400,000 to $500,000 a year, plus their assets, plus their gains, and they live in castles, and they're still barking about how they need to continuously add to that. Like, they still need to make more and more and more, and that's just greed. And there's just no reason why they should be allowed to speak to the public and say, well, if wages go up, then we can show that cost of living goes up, because it's not. In fact, reducing the CEO to worker ratio back to 1 to 50 would solve a lot of our issues. In fact, the source of this balancing of the budget isn't going to come from everyday Canadians. I'm going to be filing, these lawsuits and asking that CEOs who are making too much money and the legislators who allowed this criminal behavior. I don't think the public should pay for the mistakes of these people, and they're not even mistakes. They are purposeful, it's with intent, it's motivated by money, it's just downright criminal. They know that people are going to suffer with their actions, and they don't care. And they are happy to swoop down like vultures and claim more property and more land and more businesses and create more monopolies when the economy crashes. And so I was talking about this back in 2018, and here are some videos that, I tried to get out there, and I was buried alive, and everybody around me looked at me like I was crazy. I'm pretty used to it by now. I think a lot of people are just really used to being sheltered until it's right in front of them. And so, nobody wanted to believe, nobody wanted to look at the math and say, oh wow, look, this is not looking too good. Everybody was like, oh, the government's fine, everything's fine. They just completely ignored everything and acted like everything was going to be okay. And when the public doesn't put pressure on the government, whose fault is it? I blame society for this, because, the government has never really been that good with money. They consume more than they should, and they exploit anyone that they can to do so. So you can't really trust them. You have to really watch them. And that's the thing, we do have scientists, and we did have the documents, and we did have the numbers, and it was very alarming. And the Canadian government controlled the media and paid $20 million to the media outlets to control them and make sure that, they were basically printing whatever they wanted and censoring anybody that would speak about it. Because I went to the media and they looked at me like I was a joke. And I'm like, well, people outside of this country are publishing this information. Why is it that we're not? Why is it that Canada is ignoring this market, this bubble, this risks? No Canadian news outlet published that document that shows the 5 riskiest areas within our market, and we were like in the top 5 in all of them. And so we were one of the riskiest markets in the world, and people around the world were like laughing at us and watching us and looking at us and saying, oh, how can they call themselves, the greatest place on earth when people can't even afford to live? And, the properties are owned by real estate owners who come in from outside of this country. Just looking at London, Ontario, where I was, like Farhi was an Egyptian business, and they didn't really have to set foot on Canadian soil, and they bought up most of London. I hope you guys are watching my video. I know a lot of you think this does not apply to you, but the housing market is really bad. It may burst. What happens then is your mortgage will be greater than your home's worth. You'll become high risk, and you'll have higher interest rates, and people will be homeless. A lot of us will be struggling, and these are all signs of what's to come. The wage gap between CEOs and employees is growing. By 11 a.m. on the first working day of the new year, the average CEO in Canada has already earned what it takes for the average Canadian to make an entire year. In other words, by the second cup of coffee on the first day of the new year in January, an average CEO, has already pocketed more than most Canadians will an entire year. This is wrong, and I'm going to do everything I can to make people aware of this inequality, and things need to change. Please follow, and please get involved, yeah, this has got to stop, guys. It's not fair. We're never going to be able to afford to live if they continue taking all of the money from us. It's simple. Hey everyone, happy World Homeless Day. I really hope people make a difference and they get involved and try to help everybody in this situation. Nobody deserves to be homeless. Everybody deserves the right to own a home or a place to call home. It doesn't matter if you have mental health issues. It doesn't matter if you have addiction issues. It doesn't matter what race you are, if you have kids or no kids. Nobody deserves to be on the street, and there should be an action plan in place and funding in order to get people in better situations. On top of this, when they do make their lives better, they should be able to afford to live. Even after my university degree and working for a global design firm, I still can't afford to live. Housing costs are way too high, and people are not paying their employees enough. It has to change. CEOs need to stop hoarding all the money, okay? It needs to change.